Americans, and we should start asking some severe questions like who was responsible and why didn't we stop this terrorist before they were able to kill Americans. Ladies and gentlemen, this should be some of the major questions of our federal law enforcement, like the FBI, who have spent the better part of the last 4 years hunting down innocent MAGA grandmothers who waved American flags during January 6th, and putting their agents inside of Catholic masses in order to try and attack Christians and locking up grandmothers praying outside of abortion clinics.
Benny Johnson is touching on one of the troubling issues in the aftermath of the tragedy that the update is 14 Americans. And we're going to listen to Benny Johnson react to it. He reacted to it in the moment. We are doing a reaction afterwards. This is recorded as of January 3rd. We're going to go through Benny Johnson. Obviously, it's the Benny Johnson show. We're going to follow Benny Johnson, update on the public relations disaster this is for the FBI. They're an absolute mess. We're going to talk about the suspect's background a little bit, claims of accomplices, but it's a lone actor confirmed now. It's the flag of the ISIS group. Speculation without substance. Very upset about how we're treating this. Political donations and motive speculations. We're going to talk about this weird clip from the New York Post. Just psyop, run after psyop. Benny Johnson is going to touch the major issues. We're going to cover it in more depth. Let's get back to Benny Johnson and the Benny Johnson show.
The FBI is a sick and rotted to the core organization, but their initial instinct after this attack, with dead Americans still laying in the street, is to lie to the American people. And it is totally and completely unforgivable. It's also unsustainable. And I'm going to detail for you some of the dark and very strange lies that the FBI told in the aftermath of the terrorist attack in New Orleans, ladies and gentlemen. Never forget that the terrorists slaughtered 15 Americans, and the FBI's initial immediate instinct was to lie about every single detail. Nothing they said was true. They did this to protect a dead ISIS terrorist's feelings. They did nothing to protect Americans.
I don't know where we're going with this, and my purpose here is not to go at Benny Johnson. You know, if you watch After Show Carnage, we don't have any problem doing that. We'll go after whoever we need to. And we won't be afraid to say it. This is not to go after Benny Johnson, but I have to call what he's doing with the ball or a strike, and this is a ball. It's a little bit low and outside. There's no evidence to me that proves that this is a act of the ISIS group, number one. And number two, the ISIS group, the ISIS group, why would we be looking at them like that? That group why would it make sense for them to even do this? America's been propping them up. This is 9/11 all over again, the same level of propaganda. Let's get back to Benny Johnson.
This is going viral right now, and for good reason. This is what we know so far, ladies and gentlemen. A ISIS terrorist named Shamoud Din Jabbar.
We don't know that. We don't know that for sure. Well, they're basing all of this on this supposed guy of terror flying the flag on the back of the truck that he used to do this incident. And for some reason, the flag was upside down. I mean, just because it could be a false flag, literally, is what, no pun intended, is what we're looking at. I'm not claiming to know, but we do not have enough information to be calling this an ISIS member.
Killed 15 people when a rented electric vehicle that had just recently entered the country from Mexico, rented on a vehicle rental system called Turo, mowed down people, revelers in New Year's Eve in Bourbon Street in New Orleans. 42-year-old man from Houston, Texas. He is an American citizen. He did work for the Defense Department. He was in the Army and worked at Deloitte, a defense contractor. So I think there are going to have to be some really tough questions about who knew what about this guy. Anyway, he had an ISIS flag on the back of his vehicle. Yet, even though the FBI called this an act of terrorism.
Is that all we're going on? I'm going to look up through my AI stuff and just for the most updated information from what I've seen so far, the flag on the back of the truck is not enough for me to say anything definitive. I hope it's not. I hope that by itself is not enough for anybody.
in their statement of release, the same time the statement was going out early this morning at 10 a.m., saying this was a terrorist attack. The FBI special agent in charge, okay, so this is literally the top FBI position inside of the New Orleans region, was saying it's not a terrorist attack, even though they had discovered IEDs and explosives on site, even though they had a literal ISIS flag on the back of the vehicle. That's an ISIS flag right there. That's an ISIS flag. These are IEDs, these are explosives. And the entire vehicle is packed with tactical gear and firearms. The vehicle's obviously been used as a weapon. This is the actual.
Let's go back. I'm going to interrupt Benny Johnson here for a second on the show. He has a good show. Benny Johnson is a hard worker. You hear him, he looks like he's at a crib, and it could be his kids. You hear children in the background. And before I continue on, just thoughts and prayers to everybody who lost someone in that horrific attack. But let's look at this here. What is the evidence suggesting that this was an ISIS-inspired event? The flag, which to my knowledge was flying upside down. I'm going to ask my AI here real quick to confirm that. This whole thing just stinks. I'm looking up and I'm trying to find out because people were looking online and saying, well, the ISIS flag was upside down. And I'm not seeing any major outlets reporting it. Why is that? I don't know. Is it right or wrong? I don't know. It looked like it was upside down based on the video and pictures we saw. But that's strange that can't be confirmed anywhere as of January 3rd. I can't find it. The flag was allegedly hung upside down. If that's true, that doesn't make any sense. If you're doing something that's inspired by the flag, that's why you're doing it. You're not going to have it upside down unless you don't fly the American flag upside down unless it's in distress or you're making a statement. Come on. And then on top of that, it looked like it had creases. I don't know this for sure. It looked like it had creases on it from it recently being purchased. Does that look like someone who has been planning for a long time? I mean, would you just buy a new one? Wouldn't you already have one? The alleged ISIS guy was a U.S. Army vet born in Texas. It just smells like a false flag. It reminds me of 9/11. Let's get back to Benny Johnson.
Terrorist, yet the initial commentary from the FBI was, this is not a terrorist attack. Listen to this.
Said we'll be taking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found. And we are working on confirming if this is a viable device or not. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we're asking everyone to stay away from Bourbon Street, specifically from Canal Street to St. Anne. That is my ask. Once again, stay away from Bourbon Street, Canal Street, all the way to St. Anne until we can figure out what is going on.
Stay tuned. At the end, I'm going to show you that clip of the woman. It looks like a supporter of the dreidel country got access to the Airbnb. Reportedly, I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to search that to make sure I'm accurate on these statements. But we have the video of it that went viral before Phoebe did. Let's get back to Benny Johnson, the Benny Johnson Show.
This is the special agent in charge of the FBI. You might note that she has a nose ring. Okay, nothing against nose rings. I have employees who have nose rings, but those employees are creatives, artists, and videographers. They're not FBI agents in charge of millions and millions of people. There's like blatantly disrespectful and unprofessional. I'm sorry, I'll just say it. If you're in law enforcement, this is not the look that you should have. Is that having like a nose ring, like you're what, a roadie? Like what? Like what? You're like somebody who's going to Coachella? It's like it's just like on prima facie unprofessional. But then let's go.
I agree completely with that. What is she going to, an India RE concert? Is she going to see Erykah Badu? What is she doing? I mean, if you have a nose ring, can't you put it in after work? Wouldn't you take it out for the press conference? Just just bizarre behavior. Phoebe has a, I don't have to watch my language here, has a woman with a nose ring telling us about the event, whether it is an act of or putting something of terror into other people or not. Are you serious? I agree completely. I'm even probably stronger on that than Benny Johnson. But what constitutes an act of terror? What is this? It's just some arbitrary label. Phoebe defines an event as an incident of terror based on several key criteria. Acts dangerous to human life. The incident must involve acts that are dangerous to human life and violate criminal laws of the United States or any state. Okay, that's a lot of acts. Intent. The acts must appear to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population. That's a lot of things. Influence government policy through intimidation or coercion. That's a lot of things. Affect government conduct through mass destruction of unliving and other bad things. Okay. For domestic acts like this, they must occur primarily within the territorial jurisdiction of the U.S. Okay. Ideological motivation. Phoebe considers a act like this as ideologically driven criminal act made to in furtherance of a domestic policy and or social goal. Confirmation event must have occurred and confirmed. The definition is meaningless. It is for internal record keeping and tracking purposes. It's not about a criminal charging statute. The mere advocacy of ideological positions does not constitute this act. So it's just semantics. It's literally semantics. It has no meaning. We had a debate online where friend of show, you could say I have multiple channels, but friend of show, Village Crazy Lady on X, Mel, she goes by Mel, was heated. I think this is the event where she was heated, where she said, well, many insurance companies have these clauses now against acts of these kinds. So if you have an act of this kind and they label it an act of this kind, all it does is allow the insurance companies not to have to pay. When a member of one of these organizations in the heart of an urban area goes gack, 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 and they eliminate multiple people, is that an act? What's the purpose of labeling it that or not? I don't see Phoebe getting involved with the local cartels of the area. Go look at Arizona. Who runs the state? The cartels. Why isn't Phoebe rooting them out? It's all semantics. It's all a game, and it's all clearly represented by that damn nose ring.
To the fact that this individual clearly can barely speak coherent English sentences, said pacifically instead of specifically. And then they said that this isn't a terrorist attack.
Let me ask you a question, everyone. Hit the comment section and the Discord.
It's just an investigation into IEDs? Ladies and gentlemen, this attack happened on New Year's Eve. So this press conference is happening the morning after. They already knew that this was the individual.
Benny, who cares? I just went over for you why the labeling it that type of act doesn't matter at all.
Because he was dead in the street. He's dead in the street right here. They knew that the truck had an ISIS flag on it. This is an ISIS flag, ladies and gentlemen. That's what this is. They were aware of all this, but they didn't tell the American people. Why? You need to ask the question, why? Now, I'm going to make a just wild guess here because I don't know this individual and I don't know the FBI field office there. But I'm going to make a wild guess that the reason why they didn't tell the American people this is an act of terrorism via ISIS, by an ISIS terrorist, homegrown in this country, they used a vehicle that just came from Mexico, is because they're trying to protect the dead terrorists' feelings, because they're trying to protect ISIS, because they're doing their level-headed best to protect the dead terrorist and not the American people. It's not politically correct to say that. It's not politically correct to say that The terrorist did a terrorist thing. The lies just continued throughout the day. Who rolled up the flag exactly? Somebody explain that. Who rolled up the ISIS flag? The FBI is now completely admitted, and this is crazy, man. This is the actual suspect. He's like doing a Deloitte, like working for a defense contractor. So you gotta start asking some really tough questions about our defense contractors and our CIA, our intel agencies.
I'm all for that.
And homegrown terrorism. Still don't know anything about the Trump shooter. No, nothing. Literally nothing about Matthew Crooks. Nothing about him. He just was able to take 8 shots at President Trump, hit President Trump in the head, and we don't know anything about the guy. Nothing. Just classic homegrown terrorism. Really interesting. Who's radicalizing these people? Why do they all seem to have connections with military bases or gun ranges that our intel agencies operate and use? Look at this. Here's the ISIS flag.
After Benny recorded this, that's when the Cybertruck incident happened. And the Cybertruck, I don't know if there's any connection, but it goes to what Benny just said. Why are they always connected to the military? Why are they always connected to intelligence? The Cybertruck guy, that's a different video for another time, was connected, was at the same base, I believe, at the same time. Not that he knew this guy for this incident, but it's worth bringing up.
Hold up. Who rolled up the flag exactly? Who got rid of the evidence before people could take photos of this? Who rolled up that flag? Who's making that decision, ladies and gentlemen? Again, the perpetrator and the suspect is dead, but now they're saying that he didn't act alone. And there were other people that were maybe in the cab doing this act of terrorism. It was actually the mayor of New Orleans, somebody named LaToya Cantrell, who first said this was a terrorist attack. The White House and the FBI and federal law enforcement refused to describe it as a terrorist attack.
Again, he's off on that. There's a couple things that not Benny Johnson's fault at all. That's what was reported. A couple things that changed that we did see, like I mentioned just briefly earlier, that it was a lone actor. Benny Johnson speculated there that not from him, he was getting from the news sources at the time, that the accomplice or the perpetrator had accomplices. There's no evidence to support this claim. Law enforcement investigations concluded, who do you know what to believe? But this is the reports, concluded that he acted alone. So that was an update that came out after Benny Johnson recorded this video. Another thing that I do absolutely agree with the questions of, was the flag rolled up and who did it if it was? I don't know. I'm not making any accusations. I do know when there was that bullet that grazed Donald Trump, that we saw that the most that we saw of Phoebe that day was when they were washing the evidence off the roof in Phoebe coats. Benny Johnson, another correction before we get to this video here. You don't want to miss this last video here. I want to try to leave a hot take or something for those who stay through. Thank you for supporting the channel, After Show Carnage. Vehicle entry and border concerns. Early reports claimed that the vehicle crossed from Mexico days before the attack, but that was corrected. That's inaccurate. Truck had been in the U.S. for over a month, and they did get it from Turo, though. The Cybertruck was rented from Turo also. I don't know if that's a connection. Turo is just like it's just a rental agency from, it's a peer-to-peer sourced rental agency. It's like Napster for car rentals. That's all it is. So is it really that weird that they were both rented from there? It might be, I don't know what you have to take a picture of your driver's license and stuff. Maybe it's just a little bit easier to do no contact with. I know some of the Hertz and do that too, but for Turo, it's very common. So it might have been just easier for them to do that. It's not shocking to me that they both would have done that, but there's other stuff that would have been shocking. Let's get to this video right now, though. Let's get to this video.
Inside the New Orleans terrorist home, you can see that it's been clearly destroyed, the door at least, from the FBI raid yesterday. But if we walk through the home, we see some signs of what he was up to. He had this work area here, lots of different chemicals splayed around, and different electronics. This is, again, a work setup. Left receipts, just very unkempt in here. If we go over here, actually, you can see the Department of Justice documents here, the search warrant, and the property that they recorded here, which seems to be a lot of chemicals. Again, just left in disarray. There's a bedroom back here, and what appears to be his collection of religious materials, his Qurans, an open Quran with a passage there, as well as even the Bible here, but mostly books on Islam, and his prayer rug just to the left of me here. And if we go back, there's another bedroom here. You can see he left all these belongings, contact lenses, personal belongings, bathroom. This seems to be some sort of workspace, again, with other chemicals here. The light's still on, some kind of station set up here. We're not really sure what that was for, in what we can assume was also a bedroom. You can see clothes left here, and just a sign that someone was here up until those last few moments when neighbors said he left just before the New Year's holiday, saying he was done with his lease, it was up, and he was on his way to New Orleans where he would live there. Didn't take any furniture because he said his new home would be furnished. That's all we know so far.
So that's what we saw. And is that peculiar to you? And it looks like the FBI was there first because they did a raid. So that correction from what I said earlier there. But it's just the access to the crime scene that soon is just, you tell me, am I crazy? That doesn't seem normal. It doesn't seem trustworthy. And of course, the reporter is pro tiny hat. It's just too much. Are they trying to drag us into something? Benny Johnson, are you falling into that? The reporter gained entry into this perpetrator's home shortly after the FBI had conducted its initial search. It's unusually quick access for a journalist to have at an active crime scene. And then everything's all set up there perfectly. So it's almost like the FBI went in, or whoever, CI, whoever went in, cleaned it all, put everything up, staged it, appeared to be a boom boom making station, and other evidence like the Bible and Quran. I don't know if I'm buying it. You tell me. Are they trying to get us into something? That's what it feels like to me.
As we close this somber chapter, we lift our hearts to God, asking for comfort for the grieving, wisdom for leaders, and peace for the shaken. In moments like these, we are reminded of our fragility and resolve. After show carnage.